During my ultrasound, the doctor's hand suddenly stopped moving. The room went completely silent except for the steady hum of the machine. Then she stood, pulled me firmly into the hallway, and whispered words I never expected to hear inside a hospital. "You need to leave now. File for divorce." I stared at her in shock. "Why?" She glanced both ways down the corridor. "There's no time to explain. Look at this." What she showed me next made my blood run completely cold. "My name is Nathan Cole. 36 years old. High school history teacher from Austin, Texas. My wife Melissa and I had been trying for a baby for 2 years. 2 years of hope and heartbreak and appointments and disappointment. Until 3 weeks ago when she called me at work, voice trembling with joy. "Nathan. It's positive." I'd left my classroom mid-lesson. Driven straight home. Held her in our kitchen while we both cried like complete idiots. That morning's ultrasound was supposed to be a celebration. Melissa had asked me to meet her there directly from school. She'd go ahead, handle the paperwork, get settled. Completely normal. I'd arrived 7 minutes late, slightly breathless, still carrying my jacket. The receptionist had smiled warmly and directed me straight to room 4. I'd walked in expecting to see my wife. Instead the room was empty. Just Dr. Sarah Okafor standing beside the ultrasound machine, expression unreadable, holding a printed image against her chest like she wasn't sure whether to show it to me or destroy it entirely. "Mr. Cole," she'd said carefully. "Close the door please." Dr. Okafor had been practicing obstetrics for 19 years. She had the kind of quiet authority that made you trust her instantly, steady hands, measured voice, someone who'd delivered thousands of babies and guided hundreds of families through their most vulnerable moments. She didn't rattle easily. She was rattled now. She pulled up 2 images on her tablet side by side. Both ultrasounds. Both labeled with Melissa's name and date of birth. Both from this clinic. "This first image," she said quietly, "was taken this morning. 20 minutes ago." She pointed to the second. "This one was taken 11 weeks ago during Melissa's first appointment." I looked at both images carefully. "I'm not a doctor," I said slowly. "You're going to have to explain what I'm seeing." "The gestational age," Dr. Okafor said. "This morning's ultrasound places the pregnancy at approximately 14 weeks development." She paused. "But 11 weeks ago, Melissa was already 8 weeks pregnant." I stared at her. "That doesn't make sense." "No," she agreed. "It doesn't. Because if she was 8 weeks pregnant 11 weeks ago, she would be 19 weeks today. Not 14. Dr. Okafor set the tablet down carefully. "Mr. Cole. These numbers don't align with a single continuous pregnancy." The hallway felt suddenly narrow. "What are you saying?" She looked at me directly. Professionally. Compassionately. "I'm saying this morning's ultrasound suggests a conception date that is entirely inconsistent with your wife's first appointment records." Pause. "I pulled your file, Mr. Cole. You were listed as unavailable for travel during the relevant conception window." My mouth went completely dry. "I was at a teaching conference," I said numbly. "In Denver. For 10 days. 10 days in Denver." I remembered that conference perfectly. Late October. 5 schools. 40 teachers. I'd called Melissa every single night from my hotel room. She'd seemed fine, happy even. Telling me about her book club, her yoga class, a dinner she'd had with her sister. Her sister. "Mr. Cole." Dr. Okafor's voice pulled me back. "I want to be very careful here because I could be wrong. Medical records have inconsistencies sometimes. Data entry errors exist." She folded her hands. "But I have a professional and ethical obligation to present what I'm seeing accurately." "How certain are you?" I asked. She didn't hesitate. "Certain enough to pull you into this hallway." I leaned against the wall. The fluorescent lights above felt brutally bright suddenly. Too much light for a conversation like this. These kinds of conversations deserve darkness, deserve the decency of shadows at least. "Where is Melissa?" I asked. "She stepped out 20 minutes before you arrived. Said she needed coffee. She hasn't returned." Dr. Okafor paused carefully. "Mr. Cole, when she called to confirm today's appointment she specifically asked which doctor would be on duty." "She asked for you?" "She asked who would not be available." Dr. Okafor's expression tightened slightly. "Dr. Patricia Webb normally handles Melissa's file. Patricia and I trained together. We're close." Another pause. "Patricia mentioned Melissa's case to me last week. Something about the numbers bothered her too. She'd flagged it internally but hadn't acted yet." My chest tightened. So Melissa knew Patricia was suspicious. And specifically arranged today's appointment, Dr. Okafor said quietly, for Patricia's day off. Melissa hadn't forgotten coffee. She'd been buying herself time. I excused myself from Dr. Okafor and walked to the clinic's small waiting area near the entrance. Sat down in a corner chair facing the door. Pulled out my phone. Opened my messages with Melissa like I'd done 1,000 times before, casually, automatically, except this time I was reading everything differently. Like decoding a language I'd been speaking fluently without ever understanding. Late October messages. During Denver. Miss you, babe. Quiet night in. Just finished dinner with Rachel. Home now. Early night tonight. Tired. Call me tomorrow? Rachel. Her sister. I opened my contacts and called Rachel directly. She picked up on the second ring. Nathan. Hey, how's the appointment going? Melissa told me this morning she was nervous about. Rachel. I kept my voice completely even. I need to ask you something and I need you to be honest with me. A slight pause. Okay. The last week of October. When I was in Denver. I stared at the clinic entrance. Did Melissa have dinner with you? Silence. Not the silence of someone thinking. The silence of someone calculating. Rachel. Nathan, I don't want to get in the middle of. Was she with you or not? The pause that followed lasted 4 full seconds. I counted every one. No, Rachel finally whispered. She wasn't with me. I covered for her. I didn't know things had gotten this far. I swear I didn't know she was. Her voice cracked. Nathan, I'm so sorry. I hung up. Sat completely still in that waiting room chair. Then Melissa walked through the front door holding 2 coffees, smiling like everything was perfectly fine. She didn't see me immediately. That gave me 3 full seconds to watch her, completely unguarded, completely unperformed. The way she scanned the reception desk first. The slight relief on her face when she didn't see Dr. Okafor. The casual adjustment of her expression before she turned toward the seating area. 3 seconds of the real Melissa. Then she saw me and the warmth flooded back instantly. Nathan. You made it. I was worried you'd be late. I got you a coffee. Come on, they're probably ready for us. Sit down, Melissa. Something in my voice stopped her completely. She stood holding both coffees, studying my face with those eyes I'd trusted completely for 6 years. What's wrong? Sit down. She sat. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. I told her quietly and precisely everything Dr. Okafor had shown me. The gestational inconsistency. The conception dates. The Denver timeline. I watched her face cycle through 4 distinct expressions in 30 seconds. Surprise, calculation, wounded innocence, and finally a carefully constructed version of devastated confession. Even her breakdown was choreographed. Nathan, I can explain. Who is he? Please just let me. Oh. Melissa. She looked down at the coffee cup in her hands. For a long moment the only sound was the clinic's reception desk phone ringing distantly somewhere behind us. His name is Derek, she said quietly. He's in my yoga class. Yoga class. While I was in Denver calling her every night asking about her day, she was with a man from her yoga class building a secret that would reshape both our entire lives. Does he know? I asked. She shook her head. Does he know? I repeated. No, she whispered. I left her sitting in that waiting room. Didn't argue. Didn't cry. Didn't give her the dramatic confrontation she'd probably rehearsed responses for. I simply stood up, put on my jacket, and walked out through those clinic doors into the blinding Austin afternoon sun. She called 7 times before I reached my car. I didn't answer once. I drove to my brother's place across town. Marcus was 3 years older, ex-military, the kind of man who processed information like a machine and saved his emotions for later. I sat at his kitchen table and told him everything in one continuous unbroken stream. He listened without interrupting. When I finished he was quiet for a moment. Then, you need a lawyer before she knows you know. Same instinct Dr. Okafor had. Same urgency. Everyone who heard this story immediately understood something I was still emotionally catching up to. Melissa had been planning this carefully. Which meant I needed to be more careful. Marcus called his college roommate Daniel Park. Family attorney. Sharp, discreet, 15 years experience in Austin domestic cases. Daniel picked up immediately and listened to a summarized version in under 4 minutes. Don't go home tonight, Daniel said. Don't confront her further. Don't move any shared finances. Don't change passwords. Don't do anything that signals you're preparing. Pause. And Nathan, I need you to think carefully. Joint accounts. Property. Any recent unusual transactions. I thought about it, then remembered something that hadn't seemed unusual at the time. 3 weeks ago, the same week Melissa announced the pregnancy, she transferred $14,000 from our joint savings. For nursery renovations, she'd said. I'd never seen a single receipt. Daniel moved fast. Within 48 hours he'd pulled every joint financial record we had. 6 years of marriage condensed into spreadsheets and bank statements spread across his conference table like an autopsy of everything I'd trusted completely. The $14,000 nursery transfer was just the beginning. Over the past 11 months, carefully spaced, never dramatic, always explainable, Melissa had moved $67,000 from various joint accounts into a personal account I hadn't known existed. Small amounts. Irregular intervals. Nothing that would trigger automatic alerts. Nothing that would make a suspicious husband look twice. I hadn't been a suspicious husband. That had been my greatest vulnerability. She's been building an exit fund, Daniel said quietly. This isn't impulsive, Nathan. This is calculated over almost a year. He paused. The pregnancy announcement, the timing concerns me. 14 weeks ago she discovers she's pregnant by another man. Within days she announces the pregnancy to you. Within the same week she transfers $14,000. He looked up from the spreadsheet. She wasn't planning a nursery. She was accelerating her timeline. Her timeline for what? I asked. Best case scenario, she was planning to pass the baby off as yours and quietly drain assets while you celebrated becoming a father. Daniel removed his glasses. Worst case, she was building resources to leave cleanly before the timeline became physically impossible to hide. Either way I'd been the last to know. Marcus had hired an investigator quietly on day one. He called me that evening. Derek Sullivan, he said. 35, personal trainer. Melissa's yoga studio. Pause. Nathan, he doesn't know about the pregnancy. But he knows about you. What does that mean? It means she told him you were separated. Melissa was served divorce papers on a Tuesday morning. Daniel had spent 2 weeks building everything airtight. The financial records, the gestational evidence from Dr. Okafor, the investigator's documentation, the $67,000 in trace transfers. By the time those papers landed in her hands we weren't just filing for divorce. We were filing with everything. Her lawyer called Daniel within 3 hours. Damage control mode, immediate, slightly desperate. They wanted to negotiate quietly. Avoid court. Minimize exposure. Melissa was apparently willing to return the transferred funds in exchange for a clean, uncontested split. Daniel's response was simple. Too late. The financial transfers constituted fraud within a marriage under Texas law. Dr. Okafor had provided a formal signed statement regarding the gestational inconsistencies. Every asset Melissa had quietly moved over 11 months was documented, traced, and legally recoverable. She returned every dollar. Received nothing from our shared property. And Derek Sullivan, the man from her yoga class who'd been told I was already gone, quietly disappeared from the picture the moment paternity became a legal conversation. I signed the final papers on a Thursday afternoon in Daniel's office. Walked out into an Austin evening that smelled like cut grass and coming rain. Sat in my car for a long time without starting it. 6 years. Gone. But here's what I've learned sitting on the other side of all of it. Betrayal reveals itself eventually. Always. Sometimes through a financial record. Sometimes through a phone call. Sometimes through a doctor who notices numbers that don't add up and cares enough to pull a stranger into a hallway. I lost a marriage. But I didn't lose myself. And some mornings, standing in my kitchen making coffee alone in the quiet, that feels like more than enough.